Yo, what up, guys? This is Dennis Calvero, your host of Narrative. Before we begin, I want you to be aware that this episode was recorded before the start of the outbreak. While being mindful of the current pandemic, we also want to provide you with some distraction that's entertaining, educational, and inspiring. We thank you for listening. Be safe and be kind. Peace. Peace and welcome to Narrative, where we bring you real talk with real people. I'm your host, Dennis Calvero, along with my co-host, Keith Chan. For weekly updates and exclusive content, follow us on Instagram at narrative.today. You can also go on our website, www.narrative.today. Let's start the conversation. This is Narrative. Yo, what up, Keith?
What's going on, D?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm excited. Our guest coming in is Andy Nguyen. You know of him?
Yeah, I met Andy during the streetwear days. He was running the brand I'm King, so I met him. I think the first time I ever met Andy was at the Agenda trade show.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, but before that, I knew of him just being in the industry.
Yeah, so an interesting thing is I met Andy as well during his I Am King days and got to know him a lot more later on when he actually did the pivot of leaving the fashion industry and going into food and beverage. More, I would say, more known now today as Andy Afters from Afters Ice Cream.
Yeah, I think he definitely he did a pretty interesting, like you said, pivot from streetwear to food. And most people, if you know of Andy these days, you know him to be one of the nicest people.
Yeah.
And he's really doing a lot of different things with food. So it started with Afters, and then now it's branched into I don't even know how many different companies that he's a part of.
Yeah, and he's definitely doing his all to put Orange County, California on the map.
Yeah, I think he just started a kind of a new movement under the banner of Orange County too. So it'd be interesting to hear his story.
Yep. All right, everyone. Welcome, Andy Nguyen. What's up, Andy?
What's good?
How are you?
I'm chilling.
How's the new one?
She was sick for like two weeks.
Yeah, that's right. I saw.
Yeah.
You had to bring her to the hospital, huh?
She got a high fever, and then she caught a seizure. And
yeah, that's scary.
I've never even been in the hospital this much in my entire life.
I know the same thing happened to my daughter.
Man.
Especially when they get a fever and they get like that. When it's like, oh, what do we do? What do we have to do?
Yeah,
it's
that shit fucks you up, and then. I'm watching TV. You see obviously the Kobe thing, his daughter. So I'm in the hospital with my daughter. So I'm like holding her even tighter because I'm freaking out.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty crazy 2020 to not even.
It has. You ever see everyone posting like, hey, bring 2019 back. And,
I know.
Yeah, we had impeachment, World War III, Kobe. Now we got this coronavirus thing going.
Yeah, I know, man. It's crazy. Come on, we gotta at least hopefully February gets better.
All right, welcome February.
So what's up, man? How you been?
Busy on both ends as
I see.
Work side and as a dad. So trying to find that balance, and she's almost a year old now. So I'm finally getting the hang of it.
Yeah. Fatherhood is definitely a blessing.
Yep.
A lot to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of joy, a lot of love. Like I enjoy more now than being a dad.
Yeah, I think so. Same here.
Yeah. So what projects you got working on currently?
The one I just announced 2 days ago is a coffee shop in downtown LA.
Okay.
I'm working with.
That's the one with Josh.
Josh,
right?
yeah, Josh Vides. Yeah,
shout out to Josh.
So Josh had this idea a while back, and he called me up. He's like, "Hey, I want to open a coffee shop." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then he goes, do you want to be a part of it? I was like, I don't do coffee. I don't even drink coffee.
Mm-hmm.
but I can help you. I can figure it out. I've done all these other things. I'll figure this out.
Yeah.
So when I went out and recruited this coffee family out in San Diego.
Cool.
They're called Mostra Coffee.
Okay.
It's like a Filipino-owned coffee shop. They get their beans in the Philippines, and they just won Micro Roaster of the Year.
Wow.
So yeah, they got the 2020 award from Roaster of the Year. So we get to run around with that title, and then
That's crazy because one of my boys that used to work for me, his family owned a coffee bean farm in the Philippines
Really?
too, and I didn't know much about coffee coming out of the Philippines. I know closest thing I think I ever knew was Hawaii from Kona
got
Coffee.
it. Yep.
But yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Good to know. They won Roasters of the Year.
They won Roaster of the Year. They do the fair trade, on over there. So I recruited that family over, and we have Josh doing that experience in there. So you get his crazy artwork, and then you get top of the line coffee.
So the whole restaurant's going to look like his artwork, I'm guessing.
So when you walk in, you're just gonna feel like you're somewhere else. It's just like you're gonna feel like you're in a comic book.
You feel like you're in a Liechtenstein painting.
It is, and you've seen there's people who've done something similar to it, but when you work with Josh, you understand his mindset on. He understands the lighting of it, like the way the light hits. Like most people don't get that. They just do the paint and they're done. But Josh is like, no, the light needs to hit this way for it to match perfectly the photos, no shadows in it, and those are not easy things to execute.
Yeah, that's one thing I really admire about Josh. It's like he really took his craft with he honed in on it and really getting it to a certain style that makes sense. I mean, like we've known Josh since he was young. Like there used to be a group of kids that would get dropped off by their moms to the Crook store on Melrose, and they would just come and hang out and get their dosage of culture, like Josh, Red, and Jordan, and all these guys, and to see them now flourish in doing taking things even further is like it's amazing. It's good to see. I feel like a proud dad.
They are
in some aspect.
They definitely looked up. All of us looked up to you guys and took it from there. And the crazy part is, me and Josh, we both came from streetwear. We were streetwear kids and had our own brands. And I met him at an Agenda when he was working as a sales rep for Seventh Letter.
And Seventh Letter too.
Yeah, when he was over there, and then now we end up in different type of industries, but still somehow connects to our past.
Right. Well, let's rewind a little bit. Just get a little backstory from you. Like when exactly did you start your first brand, I Am King, or what was your first experience in the fashion world in general?
I had a friend named Michael, and in 2003, 2004, he was starting his own brand.
Okay.
His first brand was called Accentuate. He had a weird fallout with his partner, and he ended up creating another brand called Arisu.
Okay.
When he created Arisu, I was actually sharing an office with him. I owned I was a real estate appraiser at the time, so that was my first business that I owned. And we ended up sharing an office. It's like tiny little space, like half the size of this room that we're in right now. And he's doing his clothing thing on one side, and I'm doing my real estate thing on the other side. But I hated doing real estate. I just did it because I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
I was able to own my own company.
Yeah.
But then you can see me gravitating towards his work all the time. I was like, dude, this guy's not making any money, but this is way more fun than what I'm doing over here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, can I have money? Can I invest my money into your clothing brand and be a partner? And he told me no. I was like, are you serious? Like, no, what do you mean no? Why? He's like, I don't think you're ready.
Wow.
So in my head, I'm like, fuck this guy. Serious? Like,
Yeah.
So I went back to my best friend, Polo, and me and him did the real estate thing. I was like, hey, I got this great idea. Let's just go start our own clothing brand. We're going to take these guys out.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So, I came up with this brand called I'm King, short for Imaginary Kingdom at the time. And we launched that brand in 2007.
Dope.
Had no idea what, I thought I knew, helping him out, I knew what I was doing. I was like, oh, I got this one in the game. We'll figure this all out. We're gonna go to a magic trade show. We're gonna get a booth, and we're gonna figure, we're gonna start cashing in on all these sales. And next thing you know, we get there, and we don't know what we're doing. We're even printing shirts at the time. We didn't know what we're doing. We had like 32 screens on one T-shirt design, and no one taught us these things. So we just had to keep figuring out along the way. And Arisu was a big driving force on why I worked so hard, because these are the guys that shut me out. So I was like, fuck them, I'm gonna go and take them out.
So rejection was your driving force.
Of course, and we battled it out for years, instead of a lot of things. And
You actually had a store and a showroom here in Santa Ana. Right?
Yeah, we had our store down the street over there, and it did pretty well for the most part until a certain incident happened down the street over on Broadway.
Oh yeah.
And that that completely shifted Santa Ana.
Right. I think a lot of the businesses here would be flourishing if it weren't for that incident.
Yeah, because that street used to be, Broadway was packed back then. That used to, like people in LA would come down to party in Santa Ana. It was crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
So I paint the picture for someone who doesn't know. Like me, I didn't grow up around here like you guys did. I was in Texas. But paint the picture for like what the climate was whenever you started the brand. Mainly around like, for instance, for me, being in Texas, there would be no way where starting a clothing brand or starting a store would be my first thing I would do.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even be my 10th thing I would do.
Right.
Just because no one's ever done it before.
Of course.
So were people doing it before you came? I mean, obviously you have this recent story, but, Dennis, the same question to you is like, who kind of set the tone that this is a viable business that you can get into, and be an entrepreneur, and this is the direction you would take,
I'll let Andy answer first.
I think in Orange, obviously being based in Orange County, we had about 4 or 5 brands that were we're making our own movement here. There was us, there was Arisu, there was Triumvir, there was Franco Shade at the time.
And LRG.
And LRG.
Obviously. Yeah.
And then we looked up to brands like Crooks and Castles and the Hundreds and Diamond. You saw that those 3 brands start flourishing at the time. We're like, oh, they're really making something of it, and they're making careers that can change their entire lives. And we were watching that, and the difference between us and you guys up there, where you guys were working with each other and piggybacking off each other, while we were here trying to kill each other in Orange County.
Yeah, because the crazy thing for me is like being a kid that was looking at this from afar and being super interested in it, but not knowing how I could start. It was like I always thought I was like the weird one in my group. Even with my closest group of friends, they would always know like, oh yeah, Keith does his own thing, but he's our homie. And I always had like these. I would always keep up with different blogs, they weren't blogs back then. It was more like the forums.
Yeah.
I would keep up. I would be on the forums, and I would be like just super interested in like what was happening in the world of like streetwear and sneakers, but none of my friends would understand what was going on. And so I was like, I'm a weirdo. I'm a weirdo. Like no one does this, and especially not an Asian kid.
Yeah.
Until when we started our first store and I started exploring like the brands and stuff, not only did I realize that like, wow, there's other people out here that are interested in what I'm interested in, but like 9 out of 10 of them are Asian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it gave me like a spot. Like it felt like, wow, I just found something that.
Yeah.
So for you guys, maybe you can talk more about this experience, but like living in Southern California, you had like kind of like these people or other brands kind of set.
Yeah, I think for me it's like we didn't have a lot of those the models that were like us that we looked up to, but there was this independent fashion culture that was brewing in LA and in Orange County or all of California, where they had to do something with skating, or any action sports. Like we in our malls, like we had one of the first Pacific Sunwears, which is PacSun now, and we were able to kind of like go in there and see these more obscure brands that weren't available at a big department store. And to see the type of graphics or even the different things that they were doing, to me it was just like there was something unique about it, but it still had like this DIY kind of feel, and for me, like being able to draw at such a young age, I knew that there was some kind of path I wanted to take that had to do with art or graphic art at that. Like initially, I didn't think I was going to be in fashion. I wanted to be in the music industry. I wanted to design like album covers and ads and stuff,
Yeah, and I think, you kind of hit it on the head with the DIY thing. So like when you think about Southern California being a hotbed for a lot of brands, especially during that period of time when both you guys came up, you had independently driven music, and then you also had like this huge skateboarding culture.
Correct.
That doesn't exist anywhere else but other than California, which skateboarding to me is all about DIY.
Yeah.
You know, these kids, they look at what we would see as a set of stairs, they're like, yo, that's an obstacle.
Yeah.
And then, of course, not just skating it, but how do you film that? How do you
Right.
take a good picture of that?
Yeah.
You know?
How do you capture that moment?
Yeah. So that whole DIY thing, I think it, you know, do you think that kind of relates to why Southern California becomes like an area that can, you know, breed all these cool brands during that period?
I think that period, you're in this mix of like, let's say early 2000, you have this mix of hip hop culture taking off, and then you have that punk, emo, all phase kind of melting pot. It's all melting pot together. So we're picking up upon these things. We're like, well, it's cool you can listen to this, but you can also listen to this, and it's okay to bridge this gap. And then being in Southern California, like Orange County, is like it's a great melting pot of everything. You get, if you're in like
The beach.
down the street, you get Little Saigon, but then you go 10 minutes away, you get Huntington Beach, which is completely different. You know, some of those people have probably never even been to like Little Saigon. It's so crazy. And then you go down the street, you go. For us, we had South Coast Plaza, so we're learning about all these high-end brands and these rich people.
Right.
So we get to pick up all these little pockets, and you go Santa Ana, and Santa Ana is a completely different culture. So
Yeah.
you're just picking at little things, and it's kind of developing who you are as a person.
Yeah, it's like strong neighborhoods.
Yes.
Like
Right.
each neighborhood has its own identity, but yet they're all right next to each other. You know, you can go from HB to, you know, everywhere else within, you know, 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
And I even feel like, you know, gang culture had a lot to do with that, because like obviously there was Latino gangs all over LA, and in Orange County, and then in these little pockets there's Asian gangs that kind of had to form these gangs because of these Latin neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah.
And they each had their own kind of identity as far as what they wore, and like, you know, there was a dress code, obviously, you know. So and yeah, like for us, like if wearing custom jerseys and Cortez and Dickies a certain size with the letter belts, like, and you had to go to certain places to get these were all like, it was like fashion in a sense, but not like what it is today.
Yeah, it's more like style.
It's style.
Style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Interesting. Yep.
Yeah.
I definitely agree on that gang culture implementation of it.
So let's go back to your I'm King days. So now you launched the brand.
Yep.
You got that going. How long were you guys kind of doing your thing, and was there like one moment where you're like, yeah, this could really be something?
I think in our second year, we started doing like plays off like Lindsay Lohan shirts and culture. Like we're just doing so many crazy designs, and it started picking up because our Japanese distributors like, oh, it's taking off over there. Your sales, you know, we're ordering like tons now, and I was like, oh shoot, this is working now. Now we can afford a bigger office, and we can build a bigger team. And at that, I think in our second, third year, we're like, okay, we're on the right track. And then once we start hitting our fourth year, then we're like, oh, we're trying to do overseas production of cut and sew, and this is not something we're experts in at all. You know, we're just trying to compete with everyone else. Well, they're doing jackets. I guess we got to do jackets too. They're doing sneakers. I guess we got to start sneaker development, and trying to keep up with everyone was definitely tricky.
I think that was one thing that we had an advantage on, is that I worked with big brands in urban and action sports. When Emil came on board, he worked for big brands in action sports and in urban. So we kind of we've already went through boot camp when like even the hundreds and when you guys were starting, it's like you had to learn all of this on your own. And like we would go when we were doing the trade show, like some guy, like even Bobby was like, oh, what are you guys doing? Like, he's like, what are you selling? I was like, no, you do this show so that you can sell the season later. You're not here selling what you have in inventory.
Like foundation 101 type
exactly.
things. Okay.
And there's
selling out your trunk type thing. That's like a thing. Yeah, because everyone's like, are you selling out your trunk?
So they're like, oh. So yeah, I think that there wasn't a slight advantage that we had, and that's probably why optically it's like, oh, dude, they're doing everything. You know, but the fact about it is that we just had all the knowledge on like how to do overseas production, how to bring in, a footwear developer, this and that.
And those are expensive lessons. Those are expensive lessons that we had to figure out along the way on our end. And that fucked us.
Yeah. It could make or break you. And then, so how long was your run for I Am King?
We did it for about 7 years. I think in year 5, we brought in a first-time outside investor that I ever dealt with an investor in general. Mm-hmm. And that was, at year 5, I was like, okay, we bring an investor. That's going to be our turning point. Now we can do things correctly, production correctly, because the group that the investors were production guys. Teamed up with them, they made it even worse. And I was like, oh shit, dude,
more expensive lessons.
Yeah, more expensive lessons. I was like, dude, we just burned through like millions with them already, and it's gone. And like, what are we doing now? Like, how do we figure this out? And once we got closer to year 7, I was like, I launched the ice cream thing.
Yeah, you pulled the plug, and you're like, what else am I gonna do?
So year 7, what year was that?
Year 7 was 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's when you had Afters and I'm King going together at one point.
Afters was at 2014 was when we launched.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the point where you're like, fuck the clothes, I'm doing the ice cream thing? Was there a moment in time, or was there like something that you had to talk through with your partners, and you had to like a come to like Jesus moment?
Yeah.
A moment of clarity.
Being in those, because I'm King, that was my baby at the time. I was like, I thought at one point I was going to do this forever. Just being in those afters meetings, they're like, you know what, we need you here more. Things are taking off. Our second store is even crazier than our first store now. Like, we have something. It's not just a novelty item anymore. Like, we can scale this thing. Mm-hmm. And I think at that point I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go all in. I'm gonna jump in the food industry.
Yeah, I think I went to the grand opening for your second store. Is that the one that was in Tustin?
That was May.
Oh, okay.
That was like, yeah.
That was huge. That was crazy.
So if let's say you didn't have Afters as an option, what do you think your decision making would have been with I'm King? Would you have kept it going, or it was just too hard to keep going? If Afters wasn't even an option.
That's all I knew at the time. So I probably would have kept going, until I got kicked out of it or something. But I think I built so much of a skill sets from that industry. I would have figured it out along the way, anyways. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe it'd been taking longer or something else, but I was already eyeballing. Like everyone was already pushing me towards like the food industry. Like Chris would be in the office, like, you're gonna end up in the food industry. Mm-hmm. I'm like, bro, I don't even know how to cook. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
so did you have like a big interest in food? I mean, bigger than like the average person at that time? I mean, is that why you were thinking you were going to go that
because
direction?
we were blogging every day on, writing, before social media, everyone's blogging on their website. So on the I'm King website, I just kept writing about food all the time because I kept traveling everywhere. But that became a thing where people would email me after, like, oh, thanks for recommending that spot. You posted about it. Like, I love that place. I go there all the time now. Yeah. So, and in the office, I'm always looking for a new place to eat all the time, and I'm looking on Yelp. So it became like a game for me.
Well, how did you come up with the concept for Afters?
So I came up with the concept because, in trade shows, we travel a lot. We're all over the place. Yeah. And I would be in different places, and I'd see all these unique ice cream stores with, like, the most craziest flavors I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And I didn't even know you could make I didn't even think that you could make these flavors. Because you had Baskin Robbins, you had Thrifty, you had Cold Stone. Usual flavors like cookies and cream, blah, blah. Yeah. Great flavors, of course. But when I went to these places, I was like, whoa, I didn't know you could turn, Thai tea into an ice cream. I didn't know you could make this into an ice cream. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm going to come up with my own list of flavors, what I would do, or things that I grew up on, or what I enjoy right now. I threw the idea around for like 2 years. I was actually supposed to open an ice cream store, or an I'm King flagship store right here on 4th Street. And it was supposed to be a speakeasy, ice cream store in the front, and then a speakeasy I'm King store to the back. You open the fridge and you get to the back and you get the I'm King store. That was what we were planning to do with Ryan Chase. But then we didn't do it, and then I kind of just keep giving away the idea for a while of an ice cream store, and everyone just kind of laughed at me.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that story. Like you like it could have even like been something that someone else owned, right? Like
I wasn't even gonna do it. I was just like, somebody just do it. Like, just do it. Like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
I'm giving it away. Like, this is your. I don't know if it's gonna take off, but it sounds easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, it sounds like it. Sometimes things just serendipity happen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like everything. It's like all the writing is telling you to do one thing.
Yep.
And so that's what happened with Afters. It seems like.
Yeah, and when we did open it, you opened it. It was in February. You know, like February's not
Yeah,
the best time to open
the
ice cream
season,
business.
yeah.
So we're like,
Yeah.
okay, it's gonna start off slow, and it gives us time to learn how to pick up the process and streamline things for summer.
Right.
The next thing you know, we have fucking lines down the block right from the start, and we're like, oh shit.
So, I mean, I never even bothered going to the one on Brookhurst. Is
Yeah.
it Brookhurst? The
Yeah,
first
Brookhurst,
one?
yeah.
The line was just too. It was down the street from my house, and I'm like, every time we drove by there, my daughter would be like, oh no.
No, yeah.
So what do you contribute like that super early success to? Like what was that tied into?
It was a lot of different things. Timing due to social foods not being a thing yet. The cronut was like super popular a year before that, like the year before that. And that was a New York thing, right? And news wasn't talking about food like that before. Maybe like a few years of that was like the Kogi before the food truck phase hit. And then after, it was quiet for a while, and the cronut thing of fusion food got super popular. Like news was going nuts on talking about it. And then Ramen Burger came out, which was also in New York. And then we were right after
Shake
that.
Shack, yeah.
And then we hit right after that with this Milky Bun thing, like this ice cream donut thing. And we're on the West Coast, and no one has anything crazy yet. So, and we're
So is that the category now? What you say is called social foods?
social. Yeah, like yeah. So
Is that a- so
Instagram,
that's a
Instagram
thing?
food. Instagram
Oh.
food. That's what people call
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And
So you had social media popping.
Yep.
Then you had like your traditional news outlets
Yep.
being interested, and then all of a sudden it was just
the traditional news picked up because our friends from Food Beast are down the street from here.
Yeah.
And I know the Food Beast guys because he used to have a clothing brand, and he used to sell on Karmaloop, and that's how we became friends.
What was his brand?
He had a brand called Fly Robot on he was on the Caswell
Oh, I
page.
think I remember that.
So
Yeah,
he had a brand on there, and me and him became friends through that, and went to eat lunch one day, and he's like, "Oh, I'm doing this Food Beast thing."
Wow.
And obviously, when I launched Actors, I'm like, "Hey, can you go shoot this thing for me? Like, give me some coverage on it." Next thing you know, he posts about it, and then Yahoo News picks up on it, Huffington News picks on it, KTLA News picks on it, OC Weekly, and it just from there it just becomes a media monster on its own, and we're like, "Oh shit, here we go. This is like
It starts snowballing.
snowball effect just
Yeah.
goes nuts." And then everyone's curious because I'm the guy from I'm King starting an ice cream store, and they go, "Why is the clothing guy going into food? Like, what are you doing?" And then everyone's curious, and he put it in a donut. Oh shit, let's go check it out. And the snow, it keeps going, and then
Yeah.
the buildup just explodes. Yeah.
That's dope.
yeah. You went from Andy I'm King to. So how did that? I mean, you as a person, like you see this business is blowing up, but then you also still had I'm King.
Yep.
I mean, what was like the personal? What did you have a personal struggle with like letting go I'm King, or because you were so tied to it?
Yeah, that was like my baby, and I had to give like the reins up of like running the show because I couldn't be there all the time now because they needed help over there, and that thing is so slammed that I was like, hey, do I focus on this where it's not doing as well, or I'm going to go focus on something that's about to change my life right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course I battled with it for a long time. I didn't want to give it up. I'm like, dude, I'll just figure out how to make both work.
Yeah, because your identity is so tied to one thing.
And that's what everyone knew me as. They're like, oh, when they come to Afters, they go, oh yeah, I love. They're all wearing I'm King. They're decked out I'm King, like buying ice cream and like thanking me for all this. And I'm like, it's crazy to me right now.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's a amazing pivot, from one industry to the other, and you were actually able to apply some of the same like marketing tactics, or even optically, like visually, like Afters has a certain look to it,
And of course, those are the tools that everyone's like, oh, you built an ice cream. Like, if another person came and built an ice cream store on their own, it wouldn't look like that. But we came from this industry where we have visuals are important to us.
Yeah.
Product, like shots, like lookbook shots. We're applying the same things, like
Right.
bright colors. That's what I wore, and I was like, hey, well, I'm gonna put that in food. The same thing. That gets me the same excitement now. But the difference was when I was marketing, I'm not marketing towards something like young male demographic anymore. Everyone eats ice cream, so this just opened up a whole nother monster. I was like, oh, this is way easier. Let's go.
Yeah. And it appeals to the youth, man. It's just like, man, and it takes off. It just takes off,
Yeah. So you mentioned that term Instagram food.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I would say Afters to me, at least from my vantage point, you guys really created that kind of category.
We're definitely the pioneer. Like, we're ahead of the time in the way we shot food and developed how to market food like that, because people weren't doing that. People weren't standing on tables to get their food shots like that. Those are things that we developed. We learned about, we're doing things like based off lighting and certain angles. And
I think phone companies improved their cameras just because of taking shots of food and what you guys were doing.
Yeah, we were the forefront of that, and now it's the norm now.
I mean, how do you feel about the evolution of what you see doing from when you first started to like now? Because obviously there's been tons of things that have come out since then.
Yeah.
There's good and bad things that come from it. Obviously, the good part, it gives people a chance to like cats that aren't in the game, and they can come in the game with a great idea and great aesthetics and make something work from it.
Like what you did. Yeah.
I'm not a trained chef, but I could go in there and do something different. Like, I don't have to do a 5-star high-end restaurant. I'm catering to the youth. I'm catering to a person that looks just like me, and that the person that looks just like me maybe can't afford a $350 steak or whatever, but they can afford a Milky Bun. And
is it getting to the point where you start to see that those type of outlets for food is becoming oversaturated?
Of course.
Kind of like how, in like the streetwear game, it's like after, its 8th to 10th year run, like there was so many brands, right?
Of course. After, because yogurt, no one was eating ice cream around that 2014. Yogurt was like the thing, and then it started dying out, and ice cream made its comeback.
Right.
But you see a lot of brands that they're just putting out Instagram friendly product, but the product doesn't taste good. And that's the difference between what I do and what all these other new kids are doing, is they're creating product for the camera, but there's no return value for it. Like, at least our ice cream is like high quality ice cream. Our donuts are, we make our donuts, like everything tastes good. When you come back, you're like, I can come back and eat this. Like, maybe I don't have to eat in the donut again, but the ice cream is still super premium ice cream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Word. Yeah, man. I think you guys are definitely starting to create something for that whole new generation, right? For our generation, the generation before, there's the chains. There's like Baskin Robbins, there's McDonald's, there's all this stuff. Like, how do you plan to set up Afters or any of the projects you're doing to become the next, staple in desserts or in food in general?
I think looking forward, I've done the Instagram food thing. I think going forward, like, my vision on food is trying to elevate the classics, putting out the best classic item you can put out there. Just like, it's all about quality. Like, of course, the way I just having kids already changed my mindset, because I was like, I'm not going to feed my daughter like Happy Meals all the time, like how I used to get it as a kid.
Right.
We're feeding them like organic foods now, and things are a lot different. So I was like, okay, well, I need something that I can continue to eat again, over and over and over again. And usually those items are the classic items people are familiar with, but how do I improve the taste? And you already know, like, things like In-N-Out Burger is so simple, but trying to master that thing, those little simple things are the hardest things to do. So if I can work on these classic items and simplify the menu and just master it, then I think I'll have a longevity in the game.
So it's like, Nick, I want to go back to kind of what you're working on now. So this thing you mentioned with Joshua, so you said that he came to you and you were like, yeah, let's do it. How many times does that happen a week to you, that someone's like, yo, I got this idea, fam? And then
all the time.
I shot him a couple ideas.
We're still trying to figure it out.
So you're saying no a lot more than yeses, for sure.
Yeah.
So, but what are some of the things you're saying yes to now? Like, what are some of the current projects you can talk about?
It has to have something that's gonna make my mind like go crazy. Like, it has to be something different, something unique. It has to be high quality. It has to be able to like move the needle. If it's not gonna move the needle, I don't really want to mess with it, because what's the point? Like, what's the point of me doing another food concept? Like, oh, Andy has another concept, but what's special about it? What is he doing this time that is going to be a game changer again?
So when a creative like Josh approaches you and says, and you think, okay, this guy is known for a certain thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I get to apply the best. I got the best coffee with one of the top artists around right now, and I'm putting that together, and I'm bringing him into the food industry. Of course, that's gonna people are going to go nuts for that.
Yeah.
It's something cool. You know, not just an art installation now. It's an experience that you can come and drink coffee and still get that vibe of that you're somewhere else.
I like that. Based off of what you just said, it still sounds like you have this really strong drive just to create and then bring something new to the table. Like you said, if it's not moving the needle, you don't want to mess with it. And you've been doing this for like
6 years this month. Yeah, 6 years this month.
So that's crazy that you still have that drive. What do you think is still propelling you to be like, I want to be a game changer, as opposed to someone that can sit back and say, well, I've done it. Let me just do something that's been done because I can chill.
Of course, a lot of people, I get the conversation all the time, like, hey, are you going to go back into the clothing industry? And I'm like, for what? Like, I've already done it. I already did that. And they go, okay, well, let's do a food concept. I was like, I kind of already did that. What's next? I feel like my best work is still ahead of me. And for me, I love going into different industries and disrupting it. And that's what I'm always looking towards. I'm like, hey, what can I do next to ruffle the feathers of this industry, whether it's politics, sports, music, art. It depends what I'm so passionate about at the time. I'm going to jump towards it. I'm going to try my best to disrupt it. If I can find the void in it and jump into it, then that's what I'm going to do.
So do you think there's still challenges in food for you? Or now that they're mentioning like other areas, is that kind of what you're looking at? I mean,
but right now I'm working on this big development out in Stanton. Stanton is a small city in Orange County.
Yeah.
And there's this big plaza that I got an opportunity to be a part of. And I'm bringing this marketplace in there that's, to me, a completely different experience. I'm applying what I know from food, but I'm also bringing in elements. There's like a tattoo shop, like smack in the middle of the place, and it's all glass, and you can eat and watch somebody getting tattoos. And then I have a barcade in there with retro barcade games, and I have a super cool brewery, and I have curated retail in there. Like, I brought my Orange County store in there. My Orange County store is an Orange County gift shop of well-designed tourist items that people can wear and rep the city, because we don't have anything like that in this area.
Nice. So it's more about the experience.
Of course.
Yeah, it's about the experience, and then it's about putting where you're from on the map.
Exactly.
As well.
yeah,
Talk about the Orange County more. And what got you into doing it?
If you live in Orange County and you've been here for a long time, you don't see people rep Orange County. It's not a thing you see people wearing LA hats, LA this,
Right.
LA that. Our Angels are still called the Los Angeles Angels. Those are things that drive me crazy. Like those are things that upset me. And I'm like, when people ask me where you're from, I let them know, I'm like, I'm from Orange County. Like, they go, oh, from like the TV show. Like, not that part of Orange County. Like, I didn't even go there till I was like in my 20s.
Yeah, right.
So I was super inspired, wanting to put the city on my back and rep it in a good way, show that there's so many talented people out here, and you're out here, and you came out here, and so many people want to come to this place, and I just want to let people know, like, Orange County is a great place to be at, and there's so many talented people around here, and I'm able to, I have this voice where I can help share stories of amazing people out here, but also wear it on my back at the same time. I remember going to Oklahoma City, and my friend took me to this gift store, and I walked into the gift shop, and I was like, whoa, this is not your normal tour, like your normal corny tourist store with, like I Love SF or whatever. Everything was well designed, well curated, and I was like, I'm going to do something like this for Orange County. I'm going to put it on the map and make sure the items are well designed, things that I would want to wear, and make people proud.
Yeah, growing up in Cerritos, I really felt like technically it's in LA County, but it really felt like part of Orange County.
Because it's right here.
Yeah, and the next city over was technically in Orange County. And we were so close to the water and all that. But yeah, there is a mind state, or I think something about Orange County, like being here, is just it puts you in a certain mood.
Yep.
So explain it to like people that don't understand, because I'll be straight up about it. I was pretty ignorant to the area before I moved here.
Yep.
So back in the day, if you said, "Hey, I'm from Orange County," I'd be like, "Oh, you're from LA." They're like, "No."
Yeah.
No.
Nah, bro. It's
No.
Orange County. It's completely different.
Yeah.
So tell someone that doesn't know, that was just like me, that what's the vibe between Orange County versus LA? What do you love about Orange County? What are some of those things?
What I love about Orange County, you could still go to LA without having to live in LA. It's only 45. It's like 45 minutes
But
an hour away.
what's bad about living in LA, I guess, is a way to describe it. Like if someone's never been to California and they go, yo, I want to visit SoCal, and you go, you should go to Orange County versus LA, and this is why.
I'll take them to Skid Row real quick and change their life. No, like you go to LA is just it's hard to explain. It's so different. The people are already just 45 minutes away. We're different. We're not the same. Like
Yeah, there is like you almost feel like kind of landlocked when you're in LA.
Yeah.
In a sense. I mean, you could come to Orange County regardless, but once you're there, it's like you kind of have to think twice about like leaving to drive out 45 minutes to go somewhere and then have to deal with the traffic coming back.
Yeah, you're really on an island because you're surrounded not by water but by traffic.
Yeah.
So
and then the smog.
oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I think anyone around here knows if you go to LA, you have to plan it out.
You're
Yeah,
true.
that's
If I go to LA, I'm there the whole day.
There's a whole day
Definitely
thing.
plan it. Yeah.
So it's funny because I have a lot of friends that want to come to California and they use me as an excuse. They're like, yeah, I want to visit you. I'm like, no, you don't. You just want to come check out there. And then they're like, should I fly to LA or should I go to Orange County? And my first question is always, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Because if they're like, I just want to eat, and then I'm like, no, you just come to Orange County then.
Yeah.
And if you want to go shopping, you can maybe do LA, but you can do a lot of good shopping in Orange County too. The only reason why I tell them not to come to Orange County versus LA is if they go, hey, I just want to party.
Party, yeah.
Then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, stay in LA.
Yeah. And LA definitely has like way more tourists that you kind of have to
Yeah.
navigate through. I mean, here you'll see a majority of the tourists down at Disneyland or something like that. But
I meet a lot of people in LA that have never been to Orange County. They're like, I only go to Orange County for Disneyland. That's the only time I've been there. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you've never been here? I was like, really?
Then I don't go south of the 22 or something.
You tell them how far it is, and they're like, you're crazy. I'm never going down. I'm not driving down there. Yeah.
a couple years ago, like every summer, I take my family to Hawaii.
Okay.
And, obviously the beaches
Yeah.
and the food and stuff. And one year we didn't go.
Oh.
And I was like, let's visit all the beaches that Orange County has, all the way down to San Diego and all that. And OC has some of the most beautiful beaches I've ever been to.
Yeah.
I mean, the water is a little
Color's
on the cooler side, but as far as like the beauty of it, the people around, even like some of the ways that you have to navigate to get to them, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like I've been to a couple weddings in Orange County, and I want to for sure one was in Huntington Beach.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, that's 15 minutes from here. But then when I go, I'm like, wow, this to me is almost like
Yeah, you're like in another place.
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Because I would say, if you're living in Texas where I'm from and you came to California for one, that would be like a bomb wedding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But here it's like, that's
It's
15
normal.
minutes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are little things that I definitely appreciate living here. You know what I mean? You have like the beautiful beaches, and then you have all the great food. I mean, I'm repping Orange County. I can't say I'm all the way there yet because I still love Texas quite a bit. I think there's a lot of like, give and take. But Orange County for me, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
So I mean, I'm sure you guys have deeper stories than
But was it hard to get the trademark for Orange County?
Not the way I wrote it. No.
Oh,
Not the
okay,
way
okay,
Orange.
okay.
Yeah, the way I
Okay.
wrote it, then I got that through.
Okay.
Not the
I was
real
like-
word Orange County. Definitely not getting that.
So what's the next phase of the brand itself?
I want to use it as definitely a storytelling platform, a big storytelling platform, and I do want the shop and the products to expand more, just further into clothing. I think the reason why I started with clothing is because that's what everyone knows me for, and it's a good way to tell my backstory to apply to this. But I think within the next few drops, people start understanding what I'm trying to do, and I think that's part of that journey along the way. And me doing apparel again, like printing shirts and all that stuff, it's weird doing that again.
Yeah, it's like almost going, like, when you go to the airport and those shops
Yeah.
have like the whatever it says Los Angeles on
Yep.
the back really big and all that. I always felt like there could be a better and more tasteful product line for different areas or different cities, or but you're able to do that with Orange County and get the trademark for it.
Of course.
You're on it, bro.
Yeah, so it's funny. You came full circle from
Yeah.
apparel, then into food, and then it sounds like you kind of went through the life cycle of like evolving as a person too.
Of course.
Now that you have your daughter, it's kind of like you're not just going out there and just taking on every business that's coming to you.
Which everyone thinks, but obviously I got a lot of different deals. But of course, I'm just like curating and picking
yeah,
which
for
one makes
sure. And
sense.
you're picking the right moves and that try to push things ahead. And now you're at a point in your life where it's like, to me, the Orange County thing is, it's like you're repping the city and you're trying to give back to the community that you came up in. You know, you wouldn't be you if it wasn't for where you came up in.
100%.
It sounds like, you know. So
100%.
I'm about to make a Cerritos brand, right? Do you also have the food marketing company as well, or?
I have a marketing branding agency.
Okay.
That we do. You know, we work with restaurants, but we consult on other things too. We consult on branding. We consult on store designs, whether it is in food or outside of food. But that's like what I'm doing now. Like when we talk about full circle, I started out as a real estate appraiser, you know, at 19 years old, and now I'm in real estate development now. But it's different. But I'm still full circle.
It's all meant to be, man.
Yeah.
So what are the I mean, just could you list out everything that you're doing right now?
Ooh.
Does it?
I'm gonna try. Out here, I have.
Well, how many afters are there?
There's 28 afters on Southern California.
Nice.
Yeah, and we're planning to sign our first out-of-state location right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're working on that right now.
Well, that's
You
a
guys
big
didn't
step.
have one in Vegas?
No, we don't have one in Vegas. In Vegas, I have the rights to Seven Leaves
Seven
Cafe,
Leaves,
and then
right.
I have the Hello Kitty Cafe over there in Las Vegas.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and then Texas and Houston, I have this place called Sticky's Chicken that we just launched.
Yeah, I was actually going to get to that, but since you're there.
Yeah, Stickies.
So it's crazy how small the world gets sometimes, like when you get into certain industries, you know. But with food, it somehow you reach to Texas, which obviously I'm from, and then you've crossed paths with like a ton of people that I know too. How did that even happen? How did you first kind of even venture into Texas?
I went on a trip there with Lee from The Leverage.
Mm-hmm.
He took me on a trip there because he was looking to invest into food at the time.
Okay.
And that was like my first year doing afters in 2014. And then I went on a trip there, and we flew into, where did we fly into? We flew into Houston, I think. And then we flew to Houston, we drove to Dallas, we drove to San Antonio and Austin. We did like that whole run. Wow. And I got to learn a lot about the city. But during my trip in Houston, before I was leaving, we actually visited my friends who own Sticky's Chicken, a food truck over there.
They're
so they're a Filipino family, and then they used to fly out here all the time because we have a lot of mutual friends, so they come hang out. So of course, when I'm in Texas, I was like, oh, my first time in Houston, I need to drop by and try your food. And I tried their food, and I was like, damn, this shit's good. Mm-hmm. And we had talks over the years about, you know, like, what do you guys want to do next? And they want to open, you know, they always wanted to open their own store. And that process took like 5-6 years to actually make it happen. And you know, we finally opened last month, and it is killing it over there now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's in Houston? It is in Houston?
Yeah, it's in Houston.
Is it like a hot chicken?
They have this special, it's like a family sauce that they made. It's like a kind of like a soy glaze type of.
Oh,
it's like an Asian.
that Filipino
Asian,
chicken.
Yeah, it's like a Filipino chicken.
My aunt makes that.
Yeah, so that's what they do.
Yeah, it's a crazy story. They started as a food truck, and then now they have a storefront, and like you said, from what I've seen, they're killing it. So
Killing it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and even
that chicken's
even on like
good.
our media day, like it's so funny because I just flew into Houston that day for our media day for our store, and then got Bun B in the store. And I'm
Yeah, I saw.
And Bun B's
I saw
eating,
you
and it's so
posted.
crazy. And I'm looking back to my old pictures, and I have pictures of him at the trade show
At the
with
shows.
him wearing I'm King stuff, and I was like, it was such a trip that. It was
Shout out to Bun B. Bun B was a big advocate for streetwear.
Yeah, big time.
He used to come
For
to the
sure.
shows. Like, of all the rappers that would come, like, Bun he showed so much support for us and the culture in general.
Yeah.
Would always come to the shows, and we used to do a show in a thing that like Mega and Nick used to do in San Francisco called Canned Goods.
Okay.
And he was one of the first artists to come and like really show support and love.
He's
for
a
us.
really nice person. He's a really nice and supportive person.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean he'll support anything I think that is like a grassroots type
Right.
of organization. He gave us a lot of support in our earlier business too, and you know he's from Port Arthur, Texas,
Okay.
which is south of Houston,
Okay.
which is a big fishing community. And I mean, I think he has a lot of love for like Asians, but specifically like Vietnamese people.
Yeah, because they
who are-
run the Gulf, right?
Yeah,
Right.
they're like the backbone of that community.
Right.
Got it.
Or that industry. So he's always talked about that. I mean, he said out loud, like his best friend is Vietnamese.
Really?
Yeah, so he shows a lot of love. That's awesome.
That's dope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we love you, Bun.
Right? Yeah.
So what else do you have going on in Texas?
What have I got in Texas right now? Well, we're probably going to expand Stickies from there. We're probably going to open more locations.
Okay.
I'm going to definitely scout a few things out in Dallas because I have a few friends out there that I could trust to run operations over there. And of course, I'm always eyeballing Austin because Austin's like it's a super cool place. And
Austin's the Mecca.
Yeah.
Austin's like the Mecca for.
Yeah, I
the
haven't
smaller
been
brands.
yet. And what is that one area where they
6th Street.
is it 6th Street? Is it where they converted
The homes. Talking about the homes.
They converted these homes into like restaurants,
Yeah, yeah.
clubs and stuff like that.
it's called is that Rainy Street? Rainy Street, I think. Yeah.
Well, 6th Street's like the main like
And
bar
then
street.
Rainy
Okay.
Street's like the houses where they converted into.
Yeah.
So, they're trying to do something like that
Yeah,
in Garden
remember
Grove.
we were
I'm
talking.
about-
Yeah, they were trying to. So they
Still
the
working on it.
city. I think did they buy out that neighborhood
I
already?
think they're restarting everything again right now.
Yeah, so they bought this neighborhood in Garden Grove, and they're trying to create each of the homes to be. They'll still be homes, but the homes will actually be different
Businesses
Yeah.
like it'll be like a yoga studio in one house, and the other studio would be like a barbecue in another house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and a bar.
That reminds me of like New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like you
Oh,
go
yeah,
down
it
to a
looks
certain
like
part of New Orleans, it's like all the businesses were old houses.
Old
Yeah.
homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Texas. Definitely love Texas. State tax. No, you guys don't pay state tax, and
That's
rent's
okay.
cheaper, labor's cheaper. Of course, I'm eyeballing those areas. It makes
Yeah.
more sense. California is tough
Yeah.
to do business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're about to sign your first out-of-state afters. Is that a franchise?
No, still stuff owned by us. Still by us. Yeah.
So have you guys, I mean, I'm sure you approached that question before, but so why are you not currently looking at franchising?
I think that we have a lot of chiefs inside of Afters. There's a number of us partners. There's 5 of us, and just getting things. It's different now. It's
Yeah,
six,
you
it's
guys
6 years
can't
later.
even decide where to have lunch,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Meetings like trying to figure things out and
Yeah.
voting
Yeah.
things through, and
Yeah.
getting things approved is not easy. Even we're all at the top of the chain, so it's hard. It's hard now.
Right.
We have to go through this whole pathway to get there.
So do you think the experience that you had at Afters is kind of pushing you to do what you're doing now? Because it seems like you're being more independent of
Having so many partners.
that initial group.
course.
So you're breaking off. And I think everyone is kind of doing their own thing to a certain
we still-
extent, right?
Yeah, some of us still do things together, and some of us just do our own thing as well. And 2 of the partners are like really old. That they're not going to do anything else. That's it for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think, what's next for Afters or any of your businesses, in the next 5 to 10 years? What are some of the things you're hoping can happen?
A lot more focus, I think. I think a lot more focus on each brand and developing brand culture within each brand. I think that's super important. A lot of times that we grow so quickly that we lose a lot of the early essence of what made us successful in the first place.
Right.
Besides having a great product, you still need a lot of the other elements. Is what made After so special was we had a great vibe when you came in there. Our stores are all black, completely different. We had crazy quotes on the walls, and then we have loud music like hip hop and EDM and stuff pumping through our speakers, which are not. It's not normal.
Right.
Our stores are open till midnight. Like no ice cream store, they all close by 9 o'clock, and we wanted to be completely different, and we wanted that into the culture of our staff at the same time. And I think that's important. And you see in a lot of Afters knockoffs, but they don't take off because it's not authentic. They know you can walk into an After store and you see me standing there, and they go, oh yeah, that guy's the owner, and you'd be like, oh, I could see that. Yeah, I could tell that. Yeah.
Do you think part of like those things that you described Afters as doing that was kind of outside the box? Do you think that came from just because you guys didn't know what you were doing in the beginning, so then you were able to be more flexible? Like if you grew up in a certain culture and then you moved on from that, you're always going to be like, well, these are the rules that I play by. But because you didn't come from the food world, do you think that drove you to be able to do that?
I think it helped because we saw this void of like, well, we saw in streetwear if you do something cool, and we came from an industry of like masters of
Disruptors.
generating hype,
Yeah.
generating
Cool.
getting people
We're selling
coolness,
cool.
making cool things happen, and
Yeah.
now I just put in food where people never saw that before, and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's different.
It's
Like,
different.
For us, it's like it's kind of the same thing. We did it in clothing, but now we're just doing it in food. And
Yeah.
it's just a bigger audience in food, so
Yeah.
it just took off from there.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
You definitely have an amazing story and much more success to you.
Yeah, I'm trying.
So I have a final question for you.
Of course.
So knowing what you know now, if you were to go back and talk to your like 18-year-old self,
Yeah.
what would be that piece of advice you would give them?
I wouldn't say anything, to be honest. Just like that, those lessons, those hardships that I went through, like those are things I was supposed to go through to really value and cherish all these successful moments and really understand what the lows feel like, because those lows are just important as the highs.
Yeah, that's what builds your character.
Of course. And I think I wouldn't say anything. I just look at them and just laugh,
Yeah,
laugh a bit, giggle a bit, go,
Yeah.
get ready. Get ready. It's going to be a crazy journey ahead. And
Yeah, so that journey is always going to be that journey.
It is.
Regardless of yeah.
It's such an unexpected journey because, talk to me 6 years ago, tell me I was going to be this food guy that owns a bunch of concepts. I'd be like, no way. I would never,
Yeah.
like, as a kid, you want to work in music? I wanted to work in music. I thought I was going to be a dancer,
Yeah.
in my teenage years. I didn't know I was going to work before afters, I never worked as a waiter. I never worked in fast food. None of that. I never worked in food a day in my life. Like, I worked at Banana Republic for like a summer season once, and that was pretty much it. Wild.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming, man.
No,
Good
thank
seeing
you guys.
you.
No, good hanging out with
And,
good friends and chatting, and I definitely respect both of you and look up to both of you guys as well.
Hey, thank you. Likewise. We can't wait to try some. Is it Stickies?
Sticky's chicken, yeah, I gotta try to figure out how to bring it out,
Out here.
West, right? Yeah. Or send you guys on a trip to Houston.
Hey, I'm always
easy.
there. It's easy for me.
Yes, sir.
All right, man.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.